Last time on Meerkat Manor, Shakespeare was bitten by a deadly puff adder. He struggled home where he collapsed and was close to death. Tosca, one of the young females in the group, has become pregnant, and brutal family politics may put her pups' lives in danger. Only time will tell if they'll survive. Meet the Whiskers. Flower, the leader of the group. Zaphod, her partner. Yozerian, with some social problems. Mozart, the caring one. Tosca, the rebellious one. Courageous little Shakespeare. And the naughty kids. Welcome to Meerkat Manor. It's 6 in the morning, and like working mothers all over the world, Flower is first up. This little meerkat is mom to 21, and the first job of the day is to check if the coast is clear before the rest of the family puts in an appearance. One by one, the rest of the gang drag themselves out of their bedrooms. Once up, the working day begins with everyone making their beds. Their burrows are built in soft sand and need constant attention. And here, on the edge of the Kalahari, that means digging. It's also a great way to warm up after a chilly night. Flower is the boss, and she takes no nonsense from anyone. She'll be watching closely to make sure that everyone pulls their weight. Work only stops for one reason. This gang of wild meerkats are known as the Whiskers. They've been the subject of a 10-year study by Cambridge University. Flower's radio collar tracks their movements, and cameras record the daily events within this extended family. One meerkat who has not put in an appearance this morning is Flower's grown-up son, Shakespeare. It's an ominous sign. The puff adder venom rots the flesh, and he had enough to kill a human. Shakespeare is only a foot tall and weighs just 2 pounds, so the odds are heavily stacked against him. At least Flower's 4-week-old pups will be coming out and are guaranteed to cheer everyone up. These precious new members of the group aren't allowed up until everyone is sure that it's safe. They'll soon be strong enough to follow the grown-ups out on their daily hunt for food, but for now, they're happy to stay home and annoy their babysitters. There's one more meerkat who hasn't made it out of bed yet, and that's Tosca. There's every chance that this little female gave birth to her pups overnight, and this could prove to be a turning point in her life. Her mom, Flower, the dominant female in the group, reserves the right to have pups exclusively for herself. She's a pretty ruthless character and doesn't want competition for her own kids. She may well decide to kill her newborn grandchildren, so Tosca's behavior could cost her dearly. With the housework done, It's time for breakfast, and Flower leads the group off into the bush. Their territory covers 3 square miles, and they need every inch of it to supply enough food for this family of 33. Forget bacon sandwiches and shredded wheat. It's millipedes and beetles on the menu. The group is foraging at the outer edges of their territory, and competition around this neighborhood is tough. Rival meerkat groups often try and steal parts of their territory, so the group always keeps an eye out for strangers. With the group gone and things a little quieter, a frail figure appears at the mouth of one of the burrows. It's Shakespeare. He's looking like he's suffering the effects of a heavy night on the town, but at least he's alive. Despite this small miracle, he's not out of the woods yet. His system is full of poison, and the flesh on his leg will soon start to rot. So staying with him is his sister Mozart. She'll be keeping him company and scrutinizing the skies for birds of prey. They're from the same litter and are very close, so it will be a great comfort to Shakespeare to have her around. Tosca has also surfaced and heads straight out to catch up with the rest of the group. She's ravenous, and she's looking distinctly slimmer than she was, so there's no doubt that she's had her pups. And she's in luck. A careless tortoise has left her a fresh egg for her breakfast. Flower hasn't spotted her yet, but when she does, she'll smell the pups, and there'll be trouble. Flower has seen her and rushes over. Tosca apologizes profusely, but unfortunately, sorry isn't good enough. Back at the burrow, Flower's pups are sitting pretty. They have nothing to fear from their mom and are becoming more and more confident. They've been out for a few days now and are busy practicing the skills they pick up from the grown-ups. The pups live in blissful ignorance of any threats that might surround them, but the babysitters are not so naive. They know that danger can come from just about anywhere. Quietly sneaking up on the babysitters is a shifty-looking male meerkat. He's not one of the Whiskers family. He's Carlos, a sly male from the Lazuli, a rival gang. They live next door and are the ultimate bad neighbors. They constantly try and steal territory from the Whiskers, and this has resulted in some vicious fights. The babysitters have picked up his scent and are starting to feel wary. What does this stranger want? As these are Flower's pups, they're potential future leaders of the group, so the adults are extra protective and unwilling to take any chances. One thing is for sure, this visitor is not at all welcome. The babysitters decide to try and warn the stranger that he's on Whiskers' land by laying down lots of scent marks. It's like putting up a sign saying, "Private, keep out." But roving male Carlos either can't read or doesn't care. He puts down his own scent mark in direct defiance and gradually moves in closer to the burrow. At this stage, there's no telling what he has in mind. One of the babysitters decides that it's time to call in the big guns and heads off to fetch Mom and Dad. Hopefully, the sight of Flower and Zaphod will be enough to scare the stranger off. But Carlos is getting seriously close to the burrow, and with no way of knowing exactly what he wants, Flower and Zaphod can't come back soon enough. The pups have picked up on the tense atmosphere and are aware that something is wrong. They are learning that strangers mean danger, and only family can be trusted. He's just yards away now. At last, Zaphod and Flower make it back. They immediately set to work laying down their scent, asserting their ownership of the land. The roving male Carlos can sense that these two mean business. And besides, Zaphod is a lot bigger than him. So he takes off. This has all been a bit disturbing, and everyone is left feeling uneasy. They haven't heard the last of Carlos, that's for sure. The main group is still out foraging, and there are rich pickings. Meerkats have a territory range of about 3 square miles. It's just enough to sustain them so long as they visit different parts of it every day. So the group heads to a new area each morning, allowing previously plundered zones to regenerate. Today, they are right on the border of Lazuli territory, and they're going to have to be careful. With the crisis over at the babysitting burrow, Flower and Zaphod have rejoined the rest of the family. But everyone is in a state of high alert, looking out for any signs of their rivals, the Lazuli. Suddenly, an alarm call goes out. The sentries have done their job and spotted trouble. The sly male, Carlos, is back. But this time, he's not alone. The Lazuli are here en masse, and they're looking for trouble. They're directly challenging the Whiskers to a battle. And when meerkats fight, the results can be fatal. Things are about to turn nasty, so Tosca decides to head for home. With newborn pups to feed, she can't afford to take any chances. The Whiskers take the bait and launch an attack. Like the enemy, they are kicking out their back legs in a kind of war dance to try and look as formidable as possible. It seems to be working, and the Lazuli beat a hasty retreat. The Whiskers are left feeling confused and anxious, laying down their scent to reinforce that this is their territory. No one knows when or where the next attack is going to come. All they know is that it's not over yet, and if the Lazuli were to win, they could kill Flower's pups. Back at the burrow, Shakespeare is oblivious to the drama facing the rest of the gang. He's still suffering the terrible effects of the puff adder bite. Mozart, his sweet little sister, is keeping watch over him. There's little she can do except to watch for predators and offer him some companionship. She could be out finding food for herself, so it's a kind and unselfish act, and it's probably the only thing keeping him going. Shakespeare's wound is becoming swollen and infected, and as the hours tick by, his hold on life gets weaker and weaker. The trouble is, when you weigh less than a bag of sugar, each day that goes by without food brings you closer to starvation. He can only hope he feels better soon. Tosca arrives back and immediately goes underground to check on her pups and give them a feed. Shakespeare also decides that he's better off below ground. It's just as well. If the trouble with the lazuli reaches the burrow, he will be helpless to defend himself. Flower and the rest of the Whiskers family appear to have chased off the enemy, but everyone is on edge. Suddenly, another alarm goes up. The lazuli are back, and they mean business. It seems they're intent on taking over this part of the Whiskers' territory. But their opponents are equally determined not to give it up. Zaphod takes on the dominant male from the lazuli and tears into him. The lazuli are forced into a final retreat. Whiskers 2, lazuli, nothing. It's been a frightening experience, but everyone is safe. The Whiskers have triumphed, and the lazuli have been sent packing. A couple of hours later, in the fading light, a familiar figure reappears. It's Carlos, the mischievous male. But this time he's alone and is gazing at some of the Whiskers' young females. This can only mean one thing. He no longer wants to make war. He has love on his mind. Daisy, one of the young females in the Whiskers group, has caught his eye, and she seems to be quite curious about him. But given what has just happened, this really is forbidden fruit. Carlos is trying to look as casual as possible as he waits for Daisy to take the bait. It's a dangerous liaison, worthy of Romeo and Juliet. But Daisy will have to face the music when she gets home. And if she's pregnant, the family is going to be furious. The group is getting more and more agitated about Daisy. It's getting dark and she's still not home. Finally, young Daisy tries to rejoin the group unnoticed, but it's not going to work. She reeks of Carlos's aftershave, and despite her attempts to apologize, the group is confused and angry. She tries rolling on her back, hoping to disguise or rub off Carlos's scent, but she's not fooling anyone. Luckily for Daisy, it's getting late, and the group has to return to the burrow for the night. So, she heads home with the rest of the family. Poor Flower has had a day. Her daughter Tosca has had pups without her permission. Her own pups were under threat. There's been a huge fight, and one of her daughters has been with the enemy. Flower is struggling to keep control over the family, and things are close to falling apart. She needs some serious TLC from her partner Zaphod to soothe her nerves. Next time on Meerkat Manor. He survived the snake bite, but without the strength to look for food, Shakespeare faces starvation. And as Flower discovers another one of her daughters has given birth, the stage is set for a murderous collision course.